Welcome back to another episode of Jam Packed, and today we're talking real life AI, and I'm your host, Flora. This episode, we're talking about how real people are using AI to make a real difference, and we are heading into the wild. So today's guest is Suhavi, a computer scientist who's taking AI out of the computers and really into nature. From tracking snow leopards into the Himalayas to counting moths in experiential forests. Together, we explore how technology can help heal the planet and why AI is really the most powerful feature that's bringing us hope. Let's dig in. Hey, Suhavi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me here, Flora.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, please. Tell us, where you're calling
Um,
from and your name and a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Suhavi. I am a computer scientist. I graduated in 2020. From my undergrad, I did computer science. I've been a typical tech bro for the past 5 years. But I started traveling when I was really, really young. And that's how I fell in love with the natural world and everything Earth had to offer. And now I want to take my skill set, which is AI and data science and machine learning, and make things for the natural world. So Earth Sciences and EES is where I work now at Dartmouth. Yes, sorry, I missed the entire part. I'm at Dartmouth. I'm a master's student. I got here because I get to work using AI and machine learning and solve for problems in Earth Sciences. Yeah, that's what I do right now.
Sorry, I muted myself. No, I love that, and I love that. So you and I had the chance to connect earlier this week and dig into
Mm-hmm.
your background a little bit more. Um, and when you introduce yourself as a computer science data person, I think there's I imagine people don't recognize like how connected you are to the environment. And I'd love for you to just kind of share a little bit more about your story and like your personal connection to AI and moths, for example.
If I go deeper into my story, I would say that when I started traveling, I started noticing things and patterns in nature, which I thought was very math of it. Like it was very baller and very math and very metal of nature to be able to connect like that and be so self-sustaining in what it is, right? Because like every problem which is natural, for example, an animal getting sick, it would know which plant to eat, which would cure it. For example, dogs know that they need to eat grass when they have a bad tummy. So I was really fascinated by how connected everything was there. And when I was traveling, so my love for nature, as you said, started when I was traveling across the Himalayas. I got to do that in my country, which is India. I spent 2 years backpacking across the mountains. And the way that I've seen the ecological disasters up close, while looking at the beauty that those ecological disasters were threatening, I think it really, really moved something inside of me. And I said, well, I have a skill set, sure, but I want to be able to use that skill set for the things that I actually care about. Um, and I did share this with you the last time that we spoke and catch up. That why I'm here is because of these two snow leopards that I saw in the Trans Himalayas at a height of some 4,200 meters. And I was traveling through them. I was looking for them because it's the one great Himalayan wish that you get to see the snow leopards. And so we were there. Um, and
Hold on.
it
I'm
was.
I'm sorry. I have to stop because this part cracks me up last time and this time today. When you and I first connected, you were like, well, yeah, and the snow leopards, of course. And it was one of those like, that is not an of course moment for me. And then again, Tay, you're like, well, that's everyone's dream in the Himalayas. And I'm just wondering, like, of of our listeners, first of all, how many people know intimately about the Himalayas, and then also how many of those people know snow leopard connection. So I have to recognize that because I think that's really
Okay.
funny.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So the Himalayas are vast, right? So they are the baby Himalayas, the bigger Himalayas, and the bigger Himalayas. And then we have the massive Trans Himalayas where you wouldn't see the trees or any vegetation. Whenever somebody in India sets foot in these mountains, their first wish is, oh, I wish we see a cool animal. It's like going through safari and being like, I wish I see a leopard. I wish I see a tiger. So we start
Okay.
like that. And when we're in the baby Himalayas, we're like, wouldn't it be so cool that if a leopard comes to us and then sees us, identifies our vibes, and kind of just wants pets? And we're like, yes, that would be so cool. And then we keep going deeper and deeper. And then we say, wouldn't it be so cool if we see a brown big bear? Because wow. And then sometimes we indulge ourselves when a few of us are sitting together and we look at each other and we say, it would be the biggest pleasure of my life to be able to see the ghost of the Himalayas, which is what the snow leopards are. They're the ghosts of the Himalayas because they're solitary creatures. They live in such treacherous conditions. 99% of their attacks go null and void. So 99% of their energy does not go into feeding themselves. It goes into dealing with the treacherousness of the terrain that they live in.
Wow.
They are
Wow.
the toughest of animals that I think that we have here.
Wow.
And and they're so solitary. When they hunt, I have
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai.
and and they're so solitary. When they hunt, I have seen videos of snow leopards leaping across a mountain to catch a goat and kind of just free falling that entire distance down with the goat. But it needs to survive. And it has had a very bad fall. So it stays there for 2 days. The goat is dead right next to it, but it can't eat it because it doesn't have the energy, because it just has the baddest fall of its life.
Wow.
And then 2 days later, it recovers, gets up, eats the goat, and goes about its business.
So at this point in your life,
Yes,
you're enjoying this independence of traveling. You're seeing
yes,
parts of the world you've never seen. You're
yes,
getting to see nature in a very raw form.
yes.
And at this point, kind of where are you in your studies at this point in your life?
So when this happened, I'd already graduated 4 years before this. I'd done my undergrad in 2020. I was a bachelor's in computer science. I specialized in AI and data science, and I did my minors in economics. And the next 5 years, which is when I was traveling extensively, I was working for a company which is based in San Jose. It was an AI tech through and through. And I was the lead for one of their products, the data science lead for one of their products. So that is where I was. I was working remotely the entire time that I was traveling. And that's when, yeah, isn't that so nice? But yes, I was working remotely for the past 5 years.
So a little bit of that like chicken before but the chicken or the egg story, right? So in your situation, where do you think came first? Your background in data science or your connection to the environment?
Um, I would like to argue that it happened simultaneously.
Cool.
Like when I was graduating, I was also getting to see some parts of the world, and I didn't know it yet, but I was the kid who was scared of dogs. You will not believe it, Flora, that I would look at a dog coming at me from miles away and I'd be like, Daddy, save me.
Oh,
It's gonna get me. But then around the same time that I was graduating and had my background in machine learning and data science, I also was looking at the world and just falling in love every single minute. It's like, wow, that's a moon. Wow, the moon rises. Wow, the moon sets. The clouds move. Like it was just so much wonder.
and at this time, talk to me a little bit about like what connection you're making to machine learning and ecology. Has that kind of connection clicked at this point in your life?
When I was falling in love, I was thinking that maybe what would be optimum would be to take what I specialize in and to be able to use it for what I love. But I didn't have my connection yet. But when I went on that trip to look for the snow leopards, the connection solidified like that. It felt like it was meant to be, and very few things feel like that.
And what
I
was that? What was that like moment that clicked for you?
Okay, so it was the day that we were in the field. And when we say field, that means we were in very thin air. Breathing was hard. It was minus 30 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, close to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything was freezing. We had so many layers on us. And suddenly, the house that we were staying in, the host comes in and they're like, "We spotted the leopards. Do you want to go see?" I was like, "That's why I am here."
Yeah.
And we go to the ground. We see that so many professional photographers with the biggest of lenses are camping there. And I go in with my iPhone, wearing these junkiest of clothes, and I take my position in the snow. I put my shoes into the snow so that I don't fall off the cliff that I'm um, perched on. And I put my phone on the maximum zoom, and I look at them. And then they start getting up, and I watch the snow leopards go across the mountain for 30 full minutes. And then in the end, the sun comes out and they kind of come out in the sun. They give us one final look and then they go back. I was like, wow. And earlier, I had read reports about how people had done census on the snow leopards, which is how they confidently say that, there are 70 snow leopards in this entire region, which is very less, by the way. And I was like, who's counting it? How are we doing that? It's not like we're going up to the snow leopards and being like, one, two, three. So there has to be some tech in place. Incidentally, my coffee that I took after seeing the snow leopards turned out to be I was sat next to the person who was responsible for the census.
How so? Just
Um, he was the man on the ground. He laid down the camera traps
wow.
across the mountains of the entire region. Um, and he would record the census using those cameras and give the data to the researcher who was there. And he got me in touch with the researcher, and I found out the kind of study that was happening there. It was amazing. Um, if you'll indulge me, and I'm so sorry that I'm talking so much.
No, please. This is why we're here.
Yeah, sometimes I start yapping and I'm like, wait, Suhavi, pause.
No, this is
Um,
great.
and I met the researcher and I was like, well, what are you up to? Why do you have a laptop? What are you up to here? It's freezing cold. Why do you live here? And he says that, well, did you know dogs are invasive species here? I was like, I had no idea. So dogs are invasive species in that entire region. That is, the population is growing unchecked. And they are competing with red foxes in the area.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Unchecked. And they are competing with red foxes in the area for food sources, direct competition,
Wow.
which means logically the population of the red foxes should go down, but it isn't. So the red foxes are resilient, and we need to be able to convert that resilience of the red foxes into the resilience of the for other species. We
Yeah.
want the other species to be able to learn from that because invasive species is a growing problem. So what he's doing is that he's using the pictures from his camera traps, identifying all the pictures with red foxes, and studying what they eat and how they survive, and studying their resilience. But the most manual part of his work was that he would look at those thousands and thousands of camera trap images with his eyes. We don't need to do that. We have technology. So I helped set him a machine learning model up on his system, which would take all of the pictures at once, all 2000 of them in a day, and it would say, well, sir, A, B, C, D, E, F are the pictures with red foxes, and you can chuck the rest. And that kind of simplified the biggest manual labor that he had to do. He had so much more free time for the actual study part of the thing. And that's how I figured, well, technology makes their life easier. In fact, that's what he said, that we need people like you on our side.
And at this point, when I don't want to. I want to talk to you more about this, obviously in depth, but I also don't want to go over big things. So you said you set this up for him,
Yes.
and at this point, do you do this because you're just like helping him out because you support what he's doing? You do this because you knew how to do it and there was a need. Like, are you doing this because, like, tell us a little bit about what did that look like for you to set that up for him?
Oh, I was like, I know how to do it, so I might as well do it for him. Like, yeah, he
Cool.
shouldn't have to do it with that. I just knew how to do it, and I'd like to do it for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So he tells you, he says, we need more people like you in this space. And that's kind of your aha moment of, okay, I can connect machine learning and ecology. And then how did that land you in Dartmouth?
Okay, so the wheels started doing their thing, and I started looking for all the places that were actually working in ecology actively and using data to study how things have changed or are changing, maybe predict things in the future. A bunch of places in the US came up because the US, of course, is very advanced when it comes to adopting new ideas, also advanced in interdisciplinary studies. Yes, very few places are doing it still, not to our liking. But still, there were a lot of places here. I applied to a bunch of them. I got into a few of them. Dartmouth was the biggest place which was doing it and doing it in a way which was passionate. So this was like the place that I had to be at. I remember studying that Dartmouth is responsible for taking care of a forest called Hubbard Brook, and it is one of the world's biggest experimental forests. And why it's an experimental forest is because Dartmouth takes care of the forest.
An
Every
experiential forest. That's a term
yes,
I've never actually even heard of.
neither. I was like, yes, I want to work there. That is where I need to be. And that's exactly why I'm here. That's how I got here. I went so I gapped so much in my SOP. Well, this. I saw the snow leopards. He said I belong, so I must have to belong. And then I gave them my credentials that hey, I've done this in the past, and I'm up to it. They were like, we want you, we need you, and so I'm here.
So, okay, you say this Hubbard forest,
Harvard Brook, yes,
Hubbard Brook, and it's an experiential forest that Dartmouth basically helps preserve, correct?
yes, yes.
I don't imagine there are many snow leopards there.
No, none.
Okay. So tell us about,
Lots of moths though, which is what I work with now.
okay,
Um,
is that quite different from the snow leopards?
Not really. Snow leopards are so pretty to look at, and the moths are so pretty to look at. It's just all the same.
No, I love that. So then how are you using machine learning now to work with these moths?
Oh, so in a bunch of ways, the professor that I'm working with, he's been working with moths for more than 40 years now. In fact, his entire PhD was with butterflies. So he came up with a system. He wants to make a system that we can use to count bugs anywhere in the world because it is of interest to people. They're at the bottom of the food chain. For example, here, bats survive because bugs and moths exist. Um, and if the bats survive, well, the health of the forest survives. It's all interconnected. We know that very well now. So he wanted to come up with a system which is reproducible and people can take that system. It's low cost, it's easy to do, and has certain code in place so that they can take it and reproduce it. Now, what that system entails is that he sets up big sheets in the forest at like 5 or 6 different stations where the moths frequently visit, and he throws ultraviolet rays on the sheet. And then there's a camera right there, which captures images of the sheet every 10 minutes. And it's so beautiful, Flora. I have to send you some of the pictures from the camera that we have here. The moths flock in throughout the night, and by the end of the night, it's just a sheet full of.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
And by the end of the night, it's just a sheet full of the Luna moths, the maple moths. It's just so beautiful. So what
but,
I
yeah, because I mean, they're beautiful,
yes,
and how is this connected?
the pictures I get is what I need for machine learning. What we do is we take the pictures, I make up models to identify the moths, detect them in the images, and then we count them. We say
Going
that,
back
okay,
to the pictures of the leopards and the foxes.
exactly. So
Okay.
I take the pictures, I detect the moths. I make machine learning models, which can go over 200,000 images of moths, which is what we have so far from the last 4 years. And we're expecting a lot more data this year as well. We identify the moths, we identify what's their size, and all of this is happening with the machine learning models. We convert the size to biomass, which is what data science does for us. And we try to predict how the population of the moths is varying over the past few decades.
Wow.
And the long term goal would be to be able to predict what the next few years have in store for us and how it relates to other people in the lab. So I'm very closely working with a PhD student from the same professor who works with bats.
Okay.
And we like bats because, well, they're so cute, but also they take care of our forests. And recently, bats have been under threat. Um, Incidentally, because of a lot of things, right? Because like we had the COVID breakout, and when everyone started demonizing the bats, and then a lot of licenses were revoked of researchers who were working with bats because suddenly the officials were concerned that the humans are eating the bats. Preserving them is becoming harder, but then we have data about the moths, we have data about the precipitation, we have data about the diseases which are harming the bats, and we get to bring it all together and we get to predict what it's going to look like in the next few years and how we can correct the things so that this particular eco cycle that is there gets preserved.
Wow. So when you're in the space of working with moths, but it's really, it touches on so many other species, and what you're doing is basically creating a model that could be replicable and is replicable, and possibly not only for ecology, but it could really span out.
That is the goal, right? We as a fact know now that we're consuming at a rate which is far higher than the rate of replenishment of all the resources that we're using up,
Yeah.
right? There has to be a point where the consumption and the replenishment rates are equal. And if nature can be represented as mathematics, we should be able to get to that point. And because nature is of such a vast scale, AI and machine learning becomes the right tool to represent it so that we can achieve that scale.
Yeah.
The space that I come from is not that, hey, stop using nature as a resource. It definitely is a resource, but there's something known as the judicious use so that we can keep doing it without, threatening our own self or threatening the ecosystem. So,
So I'm
yeah.
hearing you. I mean, you're not only an optimist and you're a realist. You're saying, I'm not here to tell everyone to stop messing up the planet. Like, y'all are going to kind of keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
I'm here to say that we can probably use technology in our favor, particularly machine learning and AI, to help us kind of compensate, right?
Yeah, like just balance it out.
Yeah.
If we've overfished in an area, which is one of the other studies which uses eDNA chips. So this chip came up 5 years back from one of the labs in Stanford. I love that professor's work. She's so amazing. She's called Fiorenza Micheli. If you're listening this, I would love to work with you, Professor.
Yeah, send it to her. She'd be lucky to
And
work with you.
I do hope so. But around her, somebody came up and like she was one of the people who came up with the idea of a chip of eDNA, which can go into the water and count different organisms in the water of specific species. So what that did for a small place in Baja was that they were able to enumerate how the count of fish that the entire village there sustains or lives on is decreasing over time. And the rate at which they're fishing the fish, they're not going to have any food in a few years. So they were able to tell the people there that, hey, you guys need to calm down, stop fishing this fish. let them reproduce a little bit, fish some other fish, and then you can go back to a level where it's balanced.
Yeah.
Like
Did
consume
it
it, but consume it judiciously. It did work.
Okay,
They
they listened.
they listened.
That's a big part. That's a big
I
part.
agree.
No, and you and I, we touched on this earlier, and I think it's really important to come back to, but you don't often hear great things about AI and the environment. Like that
I
is
agree.
not the narrative. And I mean, you're living proof that AI can really help. And just talk to us a little bit more about, not only ways that you're using and seeing AI help.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Not only ways that you're using and seeing AI help, but just kind of your philosophy on this, because you and I, talked about it briefly when we connected first. And I just think it's really a beautiful belief that, others should hear.
Well, you did call me out earlier in while we were talking that I'm such an optimist, and my philosophy on the entire take is very optimistic. But what I also like to say is that AI is a mathematical tool.
Yeah.
It is not the evil. People who using it might be using it for problem statements which don't really bring out any good and do more harm than good. Because when it's not making an impact in any of the problems that exist in the world, it's basically using up the resources to do nothing, right? That's how we look at generative AI. But what I say is that if we discard AI and if we stop using it, those people get to hoard it.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want. It's AI is the most powerful weapon in the world today because of the amount of change that it can bring and because of the amount of things that it can do for us. Then people who are on this side of the part who are concerned about how AI is being used must start using it to do better, to kind of compensate for what they think it does and just use it as a tool. Just do the good things.
So then how can, small business owners, people interested, people using AI, I heard yesterday there's 7 million users of just OpenAI, ChatGPT now. So how can, you have a very niche space professionally,
Yes.
right? You are in machine learning in ecology. How can everyone else use AI for good?
I think the change does start from educating yourself instead of thinking of it as something which is destroying. I think if we start understanding the different things that it can do and kind of support those things, it does bring out the better. So if we understand that generative AI is probably not something that we want to be associated with, but then using AI for things like, well, how are they going to buy my things? That is okay because you're educating yourself in this space. And then when people who are working in the same niche as I do start coming up with bigger solutions that, hey, let's use AI to do this, then all of these people can, they already have the skills, they can chip in, they can be like, well, we read this about the AI and maybe it can help us to solve this problem. I feel like when you educate yourself in an area, it never goes waste because you start using that concept and applying it in the smallest of ways. You start seeing patterns. And I say pattern as a trigger word for everybody who's now interested in AI or demonizes it. If something has a pattern, AI can solve for it.
Yeah, because so many people think of AI as kind of this like robot, right? This robot that's like taking over a job. And what I'm
Yeah,
hearing you say is you're like, AI is just a bunch of math. Like AI is just
exactly.
math happening behind the computer.
Exactly. Like AI is just a tool. It is just a tool. We had calculators back in the day when we were young, and we were like, calculators are so powerful. It's the same thing. It's
Wow.
just that we can take so many dimensions of data and calculate on it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So what are things, where can we learn more about others using AI for, the betterment of our environment?
Hmm. I would say that there are a few interesting people in the who are doing a lot of great things in this phase. I'm forgetting some of the names, but if we go for some of the hashtags, for example, Tech for Wildlife or Tech for Oceans,
Cool.
we would land up on these people. I think there's a company that I've been following very closely for 2 years now. It's called Wildflow. They're based in the UK. They don't know I exist, but I'll be coming for them.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you will.
And they're trying to model the coral reefs in an attempt to closely understand what's going down there
Wow.
in a way that they can preserve it. And the way that they're using tech to do that is so noble, but also so futuristic. I'm in awe. So I think that people are doing things. People are cracking up this space. I see so many people in SF who are doing it just because they've been a tech bro their entire life, and they're like, well, we want to fund the nature things now. I'm like,
Awesome.
yeah, hell yeah, good for us.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, I'm so excited to continue following your journey and to see where you land. And thank you so much for your time and just what you're doing. And it's just such an honor for me to talk to you. And you're such an inspiration. So thank you for sharing your perspective and your optimism and the work that you're doing with us.
No, the pleasure is all mine, Flora. Like it's conversations like these where it kind of, it kind of reinstates the light within you that, hey, it's okay, I can carry on. Yes, very few people are doing it at the moment, but then I talk to people like you, who understand where we're coming from and who get exactly what we're doing. So thank you for your work, because this is how we get the masses behind us.
Oh, well, I love it. And I look forward to amplifying it more. Thank you so much, Suhavi. Take
Thank you
care.
so much, Flora. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.